What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video here on the Attractions Guide YouTube channel. Today we are going to review Alton Towers' brand new attraction for 2019, the Alton Towers Dungeons. Just a quick warning before I get into today's video: if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then click off this video, because I will be pretty much giving you a step-to-step guide pretty much through the dungeons, also with some spoilers in there. So click off the video if you don't want to hear them before you enter the attraction for yourselves. So, on the week before opening, we received a photo of the facade and the exterior of the Alton Towers Dungeons. Now, it was nowhere near complete. As you watched a couple of videos on YouTube about, the makers of it mentioning about it, that was 80% done, and now it is, I'm on the verge of say probably 90% done. I still feel like there could be a lot of things that needs to be done around the exterior, but so far it looks absolutely fantastic, and my opinions on that changed massively when I seen it for myself on opening weekend. And it was an overall great looking attraction, inside as well as outside. As you can see now, there's some fantastic bits of theming around the exterior of the building, which made it even more better. And I think it's a great looking attraction, and I really hope where it's situated, which is Cloud Cuckoo Land, I really hope they theme that area around that, because it looks fantastic, and I think we'd get a bit more like a Kluckheim feel at Phantasialand, but in the UK, and I think that's what the UK needs. So that is a completely separate video of talking about that. But let's get on with the review of the Alton Towers Dungeons. So when you walk up to the attraction, there's a host waiting at the bottom with a scanner. You get your ticket scanned, and then they put you through into this, what's known as like a holding area, where you actually meet the first character, and then that's where you're batched into groups of 27. So once you've spoken to the actor that's there, he pretty much mentions to turn your talkie boxes and your flashy boxes off, which are your mobile phones and cameras. Obviously, cameras and mobile phones aren't really permitted in the dungeons. So he's explaining to you about that, and then you go through to the first room, which I think is in quite a lot of dungeons experiences, and it is the courtroom. So you go into the courtroom and you speak to the Bishop of Stafford, and he basically puts to trial 3 members of the group, and it's random, so they pick any random person out, and you go into the dock and you face your charges. Now, fantastic guest interaction. As somebody's being pulled out of the group, you're told to boo them, and he makes them dance. It's absolutely fantastic. And it also talks about local areas as well. Like the crimes that you've committed are in the local areas, and it's such a great first start to the dungeons. And when we'd seen it, it was absolutely fantastic. The one thing I will say though is the courtroom at Blackpool Tower Dungeons is the judge is actually quite high up, and you all sit in like these pews. But this one, you stand in a room and congregate around the dock. He's pretty much on the same level as you, just a little bit higher. And the dock's to the right-hand side of him. And he still has the book that opens and lights up in his face. But overall, it was absolutely fantastic. Now, we have experienced this twice, the dungeon. So on the first experience that we had, it was a woman who was the judge, and then yesterday when we experienced it, it was a guy, and both of them stuck to the lines. Absolutely fantastic quality acting, and an overall great first impression in the first room. So once you leave the courtroom, he mentions that you're all guilty and now you must go down the Black River, and that is where the fun starts to happen. You are then brought into the former Charlie and the Chocolate Factory ride entrance, or shall I say ride start, where a boat pulls up and you sit in 3 rows of 9. So there's a guy there, still an actor, and he's basically putting you into the boat and making sure you get into the boat safely, and he's basically the host kind of thing. Now, in the station, it is very, very dark, apart from a few little lights, so maybe, I think, at some point, they need to kind of change that around a little. So yeah, I think they need to change that around a bit and add a little bit more theming in there, because it seemed quite kind of dull, and I think it would look a lot better if they put some sort of theming in there. But nevertheless, once you take your seat on the boat, your boat is dispatched, and basically the boat goes through a tunnel, and it's got a big light beaming down onto the water with lots of smoke effects, and you can actually see the reflection of the water on this archway tunnel, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So as you're progressing through the boat ride, you encounter various props, a few of them heads that you see in the dungeons, where it's got a projection mapped onto the like the mannequin kind of thing, and you've got a few animatronics of a guy inside like a massive cauldron going up and down, and the cauldron's basically burning hot, so the colour of the skin, you can kind of see that it's red, and he's in this burning cauldron. The smells in there are very, very creepy. It's very pitch black inside that boat ride, but when you approach scenes, lights come on, and you get that experience, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. They even have these like white ropes dangling down from the ceiling, so they hit your head as you go through, and it kind of gives you the impression of somebody's touching you. Overall, a fantastic experience on that boat ride, and the music, the sounds, everything like that is fantastic, and I really can't wait to get back and give it a go again. And I know I did say in my last video that maybe it's a once or twice a season attraction. It's not. It's absolutely fantastic. Would I go through every time? No. If they included it with the Merlin annual passes, you can get 1 free visit every time you go, I certainly would. But anyway, let's get cracking with the rest of the attraction. So once you've descended off the boat, you then are led into like a holding area, because obviously you go in with a group of 27, but you're batched onto the boats in 3 rows of 9, 3 rows of 3, so 9 each. Nine passengers can go on the boat. So you then go through, obviously, and then you come off, and there's like a holding area which has got an actor there, practically just having some guest interaction with another one of those projection mapped heads. And then once everybody is finally off the boats, you then go through into the torturers scene. Now the torturers scene is pretty much at every dungeon attraction from what I'm aware of. The 2 that I've been in, it's been in both of them, which is the Alton Towers Dungeon as well as Blackpool Dungeon. I have done York Dungeon, but I can't remember what that was like. I did that maybe 4 years ago, I think, quite a long time ago. But anyway, in there is the torture scene, what we're used to, where you've got the big cage that somebody gets put into, a member of the group, as well as the torturer's chair, where you're basically showing all these torturing instruments. A lot of guest interaction in this room. But the only problem is it's not very well themed. There's only a certain section that's well themed, and that's where the torturing scene is. The rest of the room is just black walls, and that's pretty much consistent throughout the whole dungeons, and I still feel like there needs quite a few more bits of theming in there, because there's a lot of dark walls, and I think, like they said, they've not had that much time to do this attraction, but over the next coming months, I would advise when the theme park's closed to just work on it a little bit and get more bits of theming in there, and then it would be, a 10 out of 10 attraction. But like I said, I can't wait to go back through it. It was a good experience. So from a torture scene, you know, you're shown these different instruments, a lot of interaction and a bit of rude and naughtiness with the public, and then you are then led into the Dick Turpin scene, which is the pub. So you go into the pub, and basically you sit in these chairs, like they're like wooden armchairs with speakers on either side of your ears, and there's a barmaid, and she's welcome to my pub and stuff like this, and then she starts talking about Dick Turpin, the highwayman who holds people up for ransom and steals things. And then you see these windows behind the bar, and they've got like TV screens behind there, and you slowly see Dick Turpin walk past one of the windows. She closes them, and then he goes to the next window. He walks past that and she closes them, and then a door in the right hand side of the room, you see the handle go down and it pulls slightly ajar, and then the lights go off, and then you can hear Dick Turpin walking around where you sat, but it's not an actual actor that's doing that. It's all done by progressive audio. So he starts in one ear, and then it works into the next one, and then you can slowly hear him walking all around the room, and then you get thumped in the back by some back pokers, and then the chair lifts back. And it's a very good experience. I know that is in quite a few of the Dungeons attractions, but nevertheless, absolutely fantastic. Very good audio, especially where the bass is that loud, it feels like he's walking around where you're sat, and you're basically sat in the pitch black, and then bang, the lights come back on again once Dick Turpin's ran away, because the law's coming for him, and she's there pretty much telling you to get out. And that, for me, maybe I'm not making it sound that great, but it is. It's an overall fantastic little scene there, which we certainly did enjoy. Then after that, you go into the Plague Doctor. Now, the Plague Doctor is in another few of the dungeons where there's a body. She starts pulling the body bits out. She pulls the heart out, and the heart's actually still beating. And then she pulls a member of the group to one side, and then basically says that he's riddled with the plague, and they're basically going to have to, well, in a nutshell, kill him. Now, in this room, this is another one, a fantastically themed room. I'm not going to lie, I did like this scene, even though it is in the two of the dungeons that I've done. I'm not, like I say, I'm not too sure about York, because it's been so long since I've done it. But yeah, that was a fantastic scene for me. I really enjoyed it. A lot of guest interaction, as well as the benches that you sit on. When she pulls up the leeches in a jar, it's an empty jar, and she said the leeches have gone missing, and then you kind of get like air pressed through the leather of the seats that you sat in, so it feels like they're running under you. Fantastic experience, and I think, the actor in there was great. She worked the lines really, really well, and it was great. Absolutely witty and hilarious, basically. And then you get led into the finale. Now, the finale is absolutely fantastic. Definitely worth it, in my opinion. The whole thing is worth it just for the finale alone. So the finale is based on the Witch of Burslem, which is called Molly Lee, and basically she was branded as a witch back in Burslem, and basically people associated her with a raven. Now, if you're not too familiar with this, Alton Towers actually did a scare maze, a hooded maze called The Haunting of Molly Crow, which was also based around this kind of thing. So you're sat in like this cottage, and you're all sat in a square around the room, and there's a massive kind of like dining table in the middle of it with pans dangling from the side, and a lantern, and a few bits of feathers and stuff like that, and a book on the table. And there's this woman giving you a little bit of a storyline of how she discovered this cottage, and basically after then it progresses where the lights go out. The lights then come back on and there's literally no actors in the room whatsoever. They go off again and then it's Molly Lee. She's all dressed in white long hair, and basically there's 4 jump scares in that where the lights come on. She jumps into one place and scares one side of the room and then does it all the way around. And then the lights go off again for a final time. The pots are smashing together like this. The books are moving on the table. And basically the lights go out and then it's the woman again. The woman who's giving you the story. And then basically you're told to leave. And she says that the Alton Towers Dungeons didn't get you this time, but it will get you next time. And it was a fantastic experience. I thought before I was going to go in there, I was going to leave very deflated, especially because it was it felt like a bit of a last minute thing for Alton Towers, but nonetheless, an absolutely fantastic experience. And I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. And it's a must-do attraction for Alton Towers, and it definitely is one step forward for the resort. And I can't wait to see if they do any minor changes in there over the season. Whether the Alton Towers Dungeon stays around for quite some time, that's a completely another story. It feels all kind of temporary. It doesn't feel permanent, but it's good use of the boat ride and an overall fantastic experience, and that's why I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it that much, it even convinced me to purchase a Dungeons mug. Now, they don't actually have any Alton Towers Dungeons branded merchandise. It is all the Dungeons, which you can find at other Dungeons attractions in and around the UK and Europe. But would I advise people to go into the Alton Towers Dungeons? Absolutely. It was an overall fantastic experience, even for the younger ones, and I honestly can't wait to get back again. I know I've said this 3 times in this video, but it was a fantastic attraction. The smells are fantastic. The use of lighting, and the use of the use of actors is phenomenal. And Alton Towers have definitely knocked it out of the park with this one. And I would recommend it to absolutely everybody. If you've been through the Alton Towers Dungeons, let me know your review in the comments box below. And it'd be great to hear what you guys experienced whilst you went through that attraction. Thank you very much for watching. We recorded absolutely loads of things for the channel whilst we was there over the 2 days of opening weekend. So look out for them over the next coming weeks, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, all the links for our social media accounts are in the description below, and we'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you for watching.